What's going on, guys? Just wanted to make a little video here about expansion valves. See a lot of stuff on the internet about how good or bad they are, them compared to pistons, the high failure rate of expansion valves and things of that nature. So I just wanted to touch on a couple subjects. First of all, TXV is a superior metering device when compared to a piston or a capillary tube. That is across the board fact. It has the ability to vary its refrigerant flow depending on a lot of different outside factors, whereas a piston obviously is a fixed metering device. It does not have that option. Also, these valves will help if a system is slightly overcharged, and also help if the system is slightly undercharged, again due to its ability to vary its refrigerant flow. As you can see, we have our TXV taken apart. Just wanted to explain the three different forces that act on an expansion valve. Like I said, I'm not going to get too in detail or anything with this, but you have three total forces that act on this valve. Two of them close the valve and only one opens the valve. The pressures that close the valve are your back pressure or your suction pressure and this spring. Both of those act in closing the valve. The only thing that opens the valve is the sensing bulb or the power head, whichever you prefer to call it, which is this. That's the only thing that opens the valve. So that is why when you're troubleshooting a valve and you might have a valve that looks like it's slammed shut or partially restricted, a lot of times what the manufacturers will recommend, or tech support or whoever will recommend, to take the sensing bulb off of the line, put it out in the ambient air, especially if you're in an attic or something like that, or stick the bulb in hot water just to try and get a reaction from this diaphragm in here to see if it acts on the valve and improves anything. That is why when you come across a bad TXV, majority of the time, I'd probably say at least 90% of the time, a TXV, when it fails, it slams shut just for the reasons I explained, because there's only one thing that's acting on it to hold it open. Other than that, it slams shut. The spring slams it shut, the suction pressure slams it shut if that sensing bulb power head is not doing its job. The TXVs as a whole are a very reliable component in a system. There was a run not too long ago, maybe a year, 2 years, probably not even 2 years, year and a half ago, where there was a bunch of TXVs going bad. Nobody knew what was wrong, and come to find out it was an issue with compressors rather than an issue with the valve itself. This is not new technology. It's been around for a very long time. It's a tried and true part. Basically, when I find valves that are bad, majority of the time in doing service, it's related to installs. Just like anything, it's only going to be as good as the person putting it in. If you're not brazing with nitrogen, properly purging a system, you're going to get carbon buildup in there, and especially with 410, where it basically is going to wash all that carbon buildup off and send it throughout the system to filter dryers, to screens. Also on that subject, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see in here, but there is a screen, a strainer down inside. Hopefully the camera will focus. But there is a built-in strainer in this valve. Some other ones have external strainers that can be removed and cleaned. This one cannot be removed and cleaned. That carbon buildup will clog in the strainers and the screens. Not only that, but it can also gum up the rods that are in your expansion valve. Which I can't pull this rod out right now. Get my fat fingers in there. There you go. That's the rod that's inside. It can also gum up around the rod and get very sticky and very tacky and prevent the valve from actually closing all the way. So it could be opened by the sensing bulb, by the power head, but because of all the gunk and junk inside of it, it will not close properly. Another thing that I find with these valves that causes them to go bad is overheating the sensing bulb. Just common practices as far as installation goes, either wrap or insulate the suction line where this valve is, where the sensing bulb is mounted, or simply go in there and take the bulb off of the line, dangle it in the air, do your brazing, cool the pipe down, and then reattach the sensing bulb. There's so much around as far as technology goes, whether you're using some sort of thermal paste or just the old wet rag. I mean, a wet rag does the trick, no problem. But people taking shortcuts and things like that and thinking that they can braze fast enough that it's not going to affect this valve. And hey, it may not affect the valve at first. You may put it in there, you may not insulate anything, you may fire it up, it may run fine. But that doesn't mean the added stress wasn't put on that power head while you were brazing. So those are usually the reasons why valves fail. It's not the valves themselves. Again, it's a tried and true method for refrigerant metering that works really well. Now they have EEVs and EXVs, which have stepper motors on them and things like that. Same premise, it just works a little bit differently. If I can get my hands on one, then I might do a short video on that. But just wanted to go over real quick basics on TXV. Hope that helps anybody that was wondering. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.